right. Which were Azad Kashmir?
In Azad Kashmir,
okay.
That's right, yes.
And of course we have Shukr as Vice President.
Council of Deputies.
Yes.
Please.
Please come.
Your Excellency, welcome to the Islamic Cultural Center. It's really a great privilege today to have you and to have all our friends here with us. And it's a lovely day. This is the Islamic Cultural Center where we actually call it Islamic Cultural Center, London Central Mosque. It is actually one of the oldest mosques in London, and it is unique because the directors of this place actually are the ambassadors of the Muslim countries in general, and also the center is also attracting all kinds of communities of Muslim communities and serving the whole society at large in many areas. And of course, it is one of the vocal points of London for the society and for Muslims themselves. I'm so happy also here to welcome all our friends, lords, friends also from interfaith, from other faiths, who are really sharing with us this moment today, and we are so happy here together to have you. We have a short presentation about the Islamic Cultural Center. If you allow me, yes, Excellency, just it will not take long time actually, just a few minutes about the center. Now this is a photo of the Islamic Cultural Center actually during the month of Ramadan. You see how many people actually are attracted to come here to pray and to get services from the Islamic Cultural Center. Thousands of people. You see even this road here actually is full of people. That was one of the nights of Ramadan. I will go to the little bit to the history, because the history of the Islamic Cultural Center is related to the history of the Muslim community here. This is a picture of Lord Headley actually. He's one of the lords who played really a major role for having the Islamic Cultural Center. That was during the 20s and the 30s. Lord Headley actually became Muslim. And then he was so interested of having what they call it Central Mosque in London in that time. In that time in Paris, the French gave a land for what we call it today Grand Mosque of Paris. That was in 1928. And then after that, the Nawab from Hyderabad came to London. Muslim at that time, it was a Muslim community, small Muslim community. They talked to him about the need of having a center or a mosque. Of course, it's not the old mosque. There are many mosques from 19th century. And then the Nawab himself actually gave donation in that time, maybe about I think £2,000, which you can buy a flat in that time, £2,000 in 1930. Yes, now today of course it's not possible. Then the project started really with this support. Many people originally from in that time what we call it India, of course, including Pakistan and Bangladesh, played a main role of this. And many Muslim countries were not independent in those days, so there were no ambassadors here. And then after that, they start to try to find or to locate, to find a location where they can start the mosque. There's something wrong with him. Anyway, Lord Headley himself, he actually adopted the project, and then he tried to market this to the government till actually 35, when he passed away, Lord Headley himself. The project was ready. That's him. That's the in 35 he passed away, but the project was really already grown and heard by many people. Then the government in those days really took this as a chance. I didn't touch anything. Okay. Then anyway, till 36, exactly 1 year after he passed away, then the House of Lords agreed really as a principle for the government. They passed a project to the government to give the Muslims a piece of land in London. 1940, Winston Churchill signed a document to give somewhere, they didn't say where, actually where they are going to give a land to have what we call it London Central Mosque. In 1944, it was located here, this land. Then King George himself, His Royal Highness himself came actually, that's his photo, he came here to, let's say, open officially this place as London Central Mosque, giving to the Muslim, also remembering all the services and the fight the Muslim did in the First World War and the Second World War with the British Empire at that time. So this is the beginning of when they started in 1944, it was difficult. This piece of land, it was part of the Regent's Park, actually full of trees, and it's part of the park itself. And then there was a small house. They wanted to build a mosque, they couldn't. It took them a long time, about 20 years, till they really start to think of how to have the funding to build a mosque. In 1967, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia visited. It was a state visit, and then the Muslims in that time, some ambassadors, because I think in that time Egypt has ambassador, Saudi Arabia had ambassador, and a few countries only. They presented the project to the king. They said, this is what we got from the government. The government has done its part. Now it's our part, the Muslims, but we haven't done anything.
Which year was that?
That was 67.
67.
67. Then King Faisal actually gave a big donation at that time, about 2 million, to start the project. And they announced for international competition for designing. They delayed because of some legal procedures and complications till they started in 75 or 76. That was the year when King Faisal himself was killed. So then Sheikh Zayed from UAE actually, after more than 10 years, they are late. Then of course prices have different. They were different from before. Even these estimation they put for the project was different. Then Sheikh Zayed came, and then he gave, after independence of UAE in 1971, he gave them actually help also about 200 or 300,000 to push the project forward. Then the project was built in 79. It was completed. 3 parts of the square, the courtyard. That side where we have the mosque and the library, and that side where we have this residence, and this side where we have also the gallery and the classes. This one was not there. This one was built in the 90s after the second crisis of Gulf. Actually, the center was become more important for activities for the Muslim community, but the old building is small. And then in 94, King Fahd of Saudi Arabia came to visit, and then of course again the project was presented to him, seeking for help, and then he gave donation for this building where we are. So now we have 4 buildings, all the corners of the courtyard. The center has different. Can I do it, or you have to do it yourself? Yeah, this is actually how it looks like in the old building. Okay. Yeah. Now, if you see here quickly, actually the activities. The center has religious activities. This is Islamic services, including teaching, including courses. Interfaith department, where again. Yeah. Okay. I think I have to stay away from that. And then interfaith department, where we have also relations with other faiths, including Jewish community, Christians, Hindus, Sikh, and we have started also some initiatives from the Islamic Cultural Center here. One of them is to have, and this might be important also for Your Excellency, to have what we call it Muslim Hindu Forum, and also the Sikh Muslim Forum, or Muslim Sikh Forum. We are trying really to make, this is an initiative from here, from us, from the center, we're trying to make a forum only for Muslims and Hindus, beside of course the other forums and the other activities done by Christians, by Jewish community. There are many. But Hindus and Sikh, they don't actually participate so much in many of these. And we would like to create a model in the UK, if it works, let's say, to reduce any tension about Muslims and between Muslims and Hindus.
They don't participate?
They participate, but not that much. Not like the Jewish community or like the Christians. They are less. Or like the Muslims, they are less than this.
Why not?
Actually, it's a matter of interest, and it's a matter of some people, they don't see actually interfaith activities so beneficial maybe, or they concentrate on the communities, or their own communities, or the activities in their communities. Anyway, I think if we create a model in the UK is the best place where we can create a good model for this relation. Maybe we can one day export it to other countries, like what we did with the Christians or with the Jews. It's actually, now this is one of the activities. We have the lectures and courses, as you see. There are many for children, about the Quran, about religious studies. We have a weekend school where we have also the young children who do not have Islamic studies and do not study Arabic language to read the Quran. They have a weekend school where we have more than or about 400 students. Now this is one of the activities, the Islamic Circle, which is every Saturday since 1979. Every week we talk about a subject which is sometimes not religious, sometimes historical, sometimes religious, sometimes social, sometimes about education or whatever. Now, interfaith department, I know your time is valuable, so I'm going to jump from one to another. We can talk for many hours about the center. These are some of the activities we had together with other faiths in the center, related of course to the different branches and also cooperating with other communities or other organizations. This is the education unit. As you see here, the students for the Arabic language is the blue, and this is the Tawheed, and this is the other, also this is the youth club. We have 314 young boys and girls participating in the youth club, and in Arabic language we have about 400 people. The center itself has also relations with other countries. We have partnership memorandum of understanding also with the Cisco in Morocco. We have also a very good partnership with the Elite in Tunisia. We have also memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Awqaf Islamic Affairs in Kuwait and in Saudi Arabia. We are trying to expand our services to other people to bring benefit for the society here together. The center also is visited by non-Muslims, maybe thousands of them come every year for different education. Recently we start to teach English for those who live in the UK and they don't speak English very well, and they need really to have more chances to have English. This is also a program of the new Muslims. Yes. This is a course we designed it for those who become Muslims, how to pray. As you know, of course, pillars of Islam, after the Shahada we come to pray. And pray is a daily practice, so they need as soon as possible to learn it. Now these are the numbers of the students. I call them students, but they are of course not, most of them adult. About 500 people participated. This is only in 2017. Yes. The course we have now we are reaching 3,000 almost, who's participated in this. Yeah. Now this is the marriage or matrimonial services, 177 marriages. Alhamdulillah, only 62 divorces. We save 100 cases of marriage. Yeah. And then this is this is the zakat, the contribution that we give to the needy students, for example, to help them for scholarship, or families to help them in their hardship. It's 2017 we reach 70,000 annually to give to within the society itself. And some of it goes also for non-Muslim organizations. It goes for the organizations which serve the society. Those, for example, working to fight diseases, or for example fighting AIDS, or fighting for sicknesses of children particularly, like Sight for Fight and others. And also we give donation also even sometimes for animal welfare organization. This is to prove really this is one of the very important in our faith. Yeah, these are some photos from the events we had, all with our friends and VIP. This is a Muslim fostering network to help Muslim families to foster some Muslim children when they don't have their own families. And this is Sadaqah Day with the Jewish community together, with the Mitzvah and Sadaqah together. We did it last week. And art exhibition, Saudi signatories, and the International Arabic Manuscript Day. This is also with the Alexo in Tunisia. We have that. These are many activities with other people. This is interfaith. You see the Buddhists participating in this, which is also not always, not only the interfaith. As I say, those who are active in interfaith are Jews, Christians, Muslims. The other faiths are not.
The gentleman in the front row.
This one, the Sikh. Yes, yes. This is Professor Singh. And these are some of the media activities after the attacks in the UK. Okay? Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. This is actually a quick to give you an idea about what we are doing. That is to participate with all people in the society, and we are welcoming everyone. We are so happy also. This place is not classified as a place for only a certain unit, a certain community. It's actually for all Muslims, and it attracted actually all Muslims attracted to it.
Mr. President, thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my first visit to the Islamic Cultural Center. I've been to London many times, but this is the first time I get this very fortunate opportunity. So I feel that I'm privileged to be in your midst. Why don't we start with a question and answer? And then we can start off with questions and answers.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, of course, is Mr. President, and say any question about? Of course, we are talking only about a situation of the Kashmir, Azad Kashmir. Any question? What do you have? Yes. Introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Keith Best. I'm a former British Member of Parliament. But as I was explaining to you, sir, earlier, after leaving Westminster, one of the many things I did was to run an organisation called the Immigration Advisory Service. And as a result, we opened 4 offices in Pakistan, one of them in Azad Kashmir, because you will know, once the Mangla Dam was built in 1964, 18 villages were inundated. Many Kashmiris moved to Britain and settled in Bradford and other places here, and that's been a continuing transference of people between Azad Kashmir and this country, so we have very friendly relations. But of course, I've been in Azad Kashmir when I've actually heard the Indian guns firing into the villages in Pakistan-held Azad Kashmir. And I wondered if you could give us any insight as to how, if at all, there is any movement on either side to trying to resolve what has always been seen as one of the major potential flashpoints in the world.
Some other questions?
Yes. Next. Yes, please. Introduce yourself as well. I know everybody knows you, of course. But,
I'm Councillor Liaquat Ali. I'm the chairman of British Muslim Mayors Association of the United Kingdom. And obviously, question relating to Kashmir. Kashmir issue is a quite pivotal issue for us, certainly in the United Kingdom, but the rest of the world. And all the human rights violation that's going on at the moment in the Indian-occupied Kashmir. And really, it's one of the oldest issue on the United Nations table to resolve that. And I think, I don't know, how we can really resolve that through the United Nations, through peaceful dialogue, and because hundreds of people have really been killed. Since last year, I mean, thousands of people have been killed, tortured, raped on that. It's really important that the international community, how can the international community help to resolve this certainly issue itself? And certainly the people of Kashmir wants the right of self-determination, and that is really important for us, and how we can, as the international community, can help in that.
Thank you.
the third, yes.
Ahmed Basir from Muslim News. Since the election of Prime Minister Imran Khan, has there been any changes taking place regarding Kashmir between India and Pakistan?
And the last one we take, and of course, after we did that.
President, thanks for taking our questions. Michael Pollack, barrister. I'm interested in the human rights situation and the use of the law that your government's taking. Can you tell us what legal avenues is the government of Kashmir taking in regards to the human rights situation there?
All right, thank you. Well, thank you so much. I suggested that we start with Q&A, because I wasn't sure whether you would like me to speak about interfaith relations or interfaith activities here in the United Kingdom and the world over, or you would like me to speak on Kashmir. Of course, my name is Masood Khan. I'm the president of the Jammu and Kashmir. Azad means free. One part of the entire region of Jammu and Kashmir was liberated back in 1947. And we have an elaborate setup. We have a president, a prime minister, we have a parliament there, and we have a separate judicial system. So we have the trappings of a state, but we are not a sovereign state because we are linked with the Federation of Pakistan. And they are the ones who take care of issues like defense, United Nations matters related to the realization of the right to self-determination of the Kashmiri people in accordance with the UN Security Council resolutions, foreign affairs, of course, defense of the territory, and financial matters, including the currency. You've asked me very perceptive questions, so let me start with the human rights situation in the Indian occupied Kashmir. It is horrendous. In fact, I mean, it has been egregious in the past 2 years. There are many instances of gross and consistent violations of human rights, and they include killings of people of all ages, men, women, girls, children, boys, old men, old women. Another very abhorrent practice has been the use of the pellet gun and the troops firing straight at the eyes of the demonstrators, which has resulted in mass blindings. I mean, hundreds of people have been blinded. And these instances have been recorded by Amnesty International and Physicians for Human Rights in their gory details, as a matter of fact. When these victims were carried to the hospitals, the occupation forces attacked the ambulances, and they also vandalized the hospitals where they were being treated. There are other forms of human rights violations. These include torture, excessive use of force, arbitrary arrests, fake encounters, enforced disappearances. In the past decade, many mass graves of unidentified victims have been found. The number should be about the ones which have been found by international organizations. It's about 3,000 unmarked graves. And but India and its puppet government there in the IOK, the Indian Occupied Kashmir, they declined to investigate the identity of these graves. So, to sum it up, I mean, the situation is very bad. There is no accountability. In fact, the culture in the IOK is one of impunity. There are two laws. One is called the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, and the other is called the Public Safety Act. They empower the occupation forces to commit these crimes against humanity with absolute impunity, and they are given immunity from prosecution under the law. And for years, some human rights defenders have been trying to get some of the perpetrators of these crimes to the courts, but they have failed because the laws themselves would not allow such a trial of the offenders. Now, the international community, in fact, which includes the human rights organizations, also recently the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, they have issued reports, very comprehensive reports, recording all these violations of human rights. And there are three things that they have demanded. One is that India and its occupation forces must respect the right to self-determination of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. This is your fatwa. The second is that the two draconian laws, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act and the Public Safety Act, should be rescinded, should be repealed. And the third demand is that the Human Rights Council, which is an intergovernmental body based in Geneva, should constitute a commission of inquiry and send it to the region, to the Indian occupied Kashmir and also to Azad Kashmir. We will welcome such a commission in our part of the Jammu and Kashmir state, and they should go to the Indian occupied Kashmir and investigate the real situation there, because all these reports which have been published have been mostly done through remote monitoring, because India would not allow any such commission or mission to visit Kashmir. I would also tell you that there's this Organization of Islamic Cooperation Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission, and last year they also made a damning indictment against the practices of the Indian occupation forces in the occupied territory, and they in fact recommended sanctions against India for these crimes. Now, you've asked these three questions in addition to the human rights situation there, and I'll respond to them. One is that after the assumption of power by Mr. Imran Khan as the Prime Minister of Pakistan, there has been no change in Pakistan's policy towards Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, the new government reiterated Pakistan's state's well-established and well-understood policy in regard to the realization of the right to self-determination of the people of Jammu and Kashmir in accordance with the United Nations Security Council in a democratic way and under the auspices of the United Nations. One. Second, they also tried to explore some diplomatic space. What they did was that the Foreign Minister of Pakistan was to address the United Nations General Assembly, and what the Mr. Imran Khan suggested it to his Indian counterpart, that on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, the two foreign ministers should meet, because there is no engagement between the two sides. And he suggested that the two foreign ministers start a conversation. India first agreed and then declined. And there was disappointment because that initiative could not take off. So no change in the policy. The core, one question about what is the Jammu and Kashmir dispute about, it is about the right to self-determination of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Here in the United Kingdom, people are familiar with the history of this dispute, because when the United Kingdom left the Indian subcontinent or South Asian subcontinent back in 1947, the issue of the Jammu and Kashmir state remained unresolved, and it remains unresolved up to this day. It is about the right to self-determination of the people of Jammu and Kashmir and their right to decide upon their political future. We insist that it should be done through the ballot box, through a plebiscite, through a referendum, under the auspices of the United Nations. On the contrary, India believes that by using state power, by using state terrorism, by using brute force, it can subjugate the people of the territory. It can intimidate them, and they want to buy time, and they think that after the passage of some time, the people would forget about the right to self-determination or their right to freedom, and they would join the Indian Union. This hasn't happened in the past 71 years. In fact, one of the most glaring and stark failures of India is that they have used every method of brute force, they have used economic inducements, they have raised their own political parties, their like-minded political parties there. They have also demonized Kashmiris as terrorists and extremists, and they have tried to demonize Pakistan, and they have tried to isolate Pakistan diplomatically, but they haven't succeeded. Kashmir wasn't theirs back in 1947. It is not theirs today. I mean, this is a big tragedy for China, for India too. I think I want to acknowledge the efforts of our redoubtable community here, diaspora community here in the United Kingdom. Their number should be 1.2 to 1.4 million. It is the largest concentration of Kashmiris and Pakistanis outside Pakistan in any part of the world. Compare it to the community that we have in North America or the Gulf states, or the Asia Pacific region. This is the largest concentration, and of course this is the largest concentration in a single country. You would recall, I mean, all those people who are second generation or third generation immigrants, they would remember that when their forefathers came here, they were not very educated, they didn't have means of livelihood. In fact, most of them were unskilled workers. But this, I'm talking about the late 50s and the early 1960s. But by now, most of the community members here are well heeled, they have resources, they are educated, they're doing well financially, they are active politically, and as of now, there are 12 members of either Pakistani or Kashmiri extraction in the House of Commons. We have, or you have representation, the community has representation in the House of Lords also. So, with 12 MPs and many peers, they are in a very influential position. They are in a position to influence decision making. They've been very active. Let me also tell you that here in the British Parliament there's a group which is called All Party Parliamentary Kashmir Group, and its chairman, Chris Leslie, Honourable Chris Leslie, he visited Pakistan and Azad Kashmir in September, and we received him in Muzaffarabad. They have been organizing these hearings where different witnesses have been giving their testimonies about the human rights situation in the Indian occupied Kashmir, and I was one of the witnesses. Last February I was invited here and I appeared before this group's meeting, and I gave my account about human rights situation in the Indian occupied Kashmir. Well, my appeal to you is that you're doing a commendable job. Let me tell you that your presentation was brief, but it was very comprehensive, and I'm really impressed. And what the feedback you have given to me is that all people who believe in monotheism, they are more interested in interfaith rather than those which are outside that remit. But I think that you're working hard to attract others as well, so that it becomes a genuine exercise.
Thank you very much.
And you are a hub of interfaith activity. You're reaching out to people, and people are accessing you very keenly. This is very encouraging, because this would build confidence here in the United Kingdom about the profile of the Muslims, and this will integrate them to the other religious communities. And I'm glad that the Christian community and the Jewish community, they are collaborating with you in this enterprise. So my congratulations to you. If there are any other questions, do we have?
President, we got plenty of questions. Allow me to ask, put this question to you, Mr. President. Some time ago, of course, we met in a few occasions. I brought it to the Excellency's attention that what we can do, of course, through the interface is a very powerful tool for bringing peace to the world. Especially the Rohingya and of course Kashmir, excuse me, and others. However, I would like, of course, I talked to many through the interface. You took it. I talked to the Pope, and I talked to the bishops, archbishops. I talked to the rabbis, dayans. I talked to the Sikhs more, and all they said, we would like to do something about Kashmir. All they said, we would do something about Kashmir. Of course, we got many here which they are involved, and many, the bishop I was talking to him last night, he said, my apology, I cannot come, give my apology to President, and say, I am with you and I'm very concerned about this situation. Therefore, what I would like to do, to take it forward as an interfaith, and as a, through the interface, and we can see how we can promote peace between your country and the other, because what they say, of course, in Christianity, they say, believe in God and loving your neighbor. Loving God and loving your neighbor, that's a motto which they have. Loving your neighbor, that means countries as well. It's not just the neighbor next to. What is your opinion? Are you giving me go ahead to do and want to help it and take it forward, because the people love the people, and just the humanity is the same. What is your opinion about getting the interfaith involved in your country? And
yes, I appeal to you that in whatever capacity, to whatever extent, if you can help us, we'll be grateful to you. And the first priority is that we should somehow find ways to put an end to the bloodshed and massacre that goes on in the Indian-occupied Kashmir every day. And young men in particular are being targeted in these brutal cordon search operations. This is priority number one. The second priority that we have is to find a lasting resolution of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute, because that's the cause. And of course we would welcome any initiative within the frame of interfaith harmony. Let me tell you that in Jammu and Kashmir, we have different religions. I mean, our statistics show that in 1947, the number of Muslims in Jammu and Kashmir used to be 85%. It has been reduced to 68% now. But we have in the Jammu and Kashmir state many other followers of many other religions. So particularly, we have Hindus there, Sikhs and Buddhists. And we want to make them part of this very rich fabric, with the Kashmiri fabric, and that there should be no discrimination on the basis of religion. Essentially the question is about the right to self-determination. The people of Kashmir should be allowed to freely determine their future, and it is therefore not a communal question. It is a question about the right of people to decide their political future. So we would appreciate any interfaith initiative, and we do not have a situation of conflict between the communities. For centuries, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs and Buddhists, they have all lived in relative harmony, and in sharp contrast with the neighboring regions.
That'd be great. I would like to, the last thing I would like to organize an interfaith with the name of the, for example, neighborhood, love your neighbors, and present it to you to see what you think. Is that possible to?
It's a very good idea. It's a very good idea.
Next, yes, Lord McNeil.
Mr. President, it's a great pleasure to meet you, and I'm going to be different because I'm going to ask you for your help, because I have a great friend. I have an organization called Peaceful Planet Human Rights Education. Peaceful Planet Human Rights Education. And we have the Youth for Human Rights International children's course and the adult course in Urdu, Arabic, Turkish, Kurdish and Farsi. And a great friend of mine at the University of Kashmir has been piloting the materials for an online course which will shortly be available in Urdu when we can get it translated. And I think that he's had great success piloting this, and I would be very grateful for to have your ear for this project. I know that he's making some progress with different universities and that kind of thing, but the feedback has been terrific, and so I'm at your disposal.
Second question, of course, we have the Rabbi. Would you like to say something? Of course, just give your support. Of course, they had the Holocaust themselves. We had it last week where one of the people from the Holocaust was here. Of course,
I just want to thank the President for this encounter. What my suggestion would be is that we would like, in order to help and to work with you, we would like more information. We would like statistics. We would like. We are always hearing about the conflict, but quite honestly, I myself struggling to understand it with real figures and things. And I think that Your Excellency should initiate a conference or a day where figures are seen, where history is done, where the population are done, and that would be very helpful for us to work with you.
Sure.
European
conflict, but they don't know where
Yes. The European Jewish Congress, Edwin Schutter, Vice President.
Any other questions? Please take that.
Let me respond to these questions. First is did I respond to your question?
Yeah, but Imran Khan.
Yeah.
I did. Okay. Now, about your questions, we have 5 universities in Azad Jammu. I'm sure that you are in touch with the university that's in Srinagar. That's what you mean, or in Azad Kashmir.
I missed that.
Which university are you in touch with?
The University of Kashmir.
It is located in
I'm sorry. I don't
in
know.
Srinagar or in Muzaffarabad.
I can find out and let you know.
Okay, because in our part of the state we have 5 universities, and in Muzaffarabad we have the University of Azad Jammu and Kashmir. We also have 4 other universities. These are all public sector universities. One specializes in science and technology, one in information technology and management, one is a women's university, it's a new fledgling university, and one university specializes in agricultural disciplines. So I think that the most important and the most appropriate interlocutor for you would be the University of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, which is located in the capital of Azad Kashmir, Muzaffarabad.
I suspect it is that one.
Oh, all right, because what we're doing that we hold international conferences from time to time on a vast array of subjects. They include linguistics, they include interfaith harmony, also ways to realize the right to self-determination of the Kashmiri people, science and technology, and we get delegates not only from all over the world but also from the Indian occupied Kashmir. The ones who are allowed, they participate in these conferences. So we'll exchange our coordinates and we will work on building this relationship between you, your organization, and the Jammu and Kashmir, Azad Jammu and Kashmir University. Now, what are rabbis called? Are they called reverends or they are called?
Rabbi teacher, Rabbi teacher. And Dayan is a teacher, the highest, of course. This is top Rabbi, is my brother.
Okay.
We are really.
So
really
what I want to tell you is that in my speeches I go around and I always tell people that in 1947 Holocaust took place in Jammu and Kashmir state also. You would not believe, it is a very little known fact that in the months of September to November 1947, 250,000 Muslims were massacred in just these 3 months. and the biggest orgy of killings took place in November. But there was no trial for the victims or the families of these massacres. And I always say that this is the first Holocaust after the Second World War. We live with ethnic cleansing, different instances of genocide every day, and war crimes. So you need information. Let's again, I would say, let's exchange coordinates. We will give you all the information. The information that we would give, the information that the official portals would give you. Also the information which news agencies give. Also the information which is being collated by independent human rights organizations like Physicians for Human Rights, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Crisis Watch, and others. And also we can share these articles which are appearing in through different media networks, which include Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, New York Times, the Guardian here from London has been quite vocal on this issue. So we can share this information with you so that you can compare the information which is flowing out of the official sources or our sources, and which is being given in the independent space, and so that to provide you all the information that you need.
I think Diana you had a question? Diana is our legal team, one of the legal team. We have several legal team for Rohingya. Of course, we are doing something with Rohingya as well. Please.
Good morning, Mr. President. Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure to meet you and to listen in all those points and statements. My question, and it is relevant to the last points in relation to these human rights institutions, what is the level of collaboration with the governments and with yourself? Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, etc.
Well, we welcome them, in fact. I mean, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Asia Watch, also all other organizations. We welcome their visits to Muzaffarabad, the Azad Jammu and Kashmir territory. They are denied access to the other part of Kashmir, of course. India stubbornly refuses any kind of access to them. But we welcome them. I mean, recently this delegation led by Mr. Chris Leslie, the Member of Parliament, Chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Kashmir Group, they were there, and we received a delegation comprising members of the Conservative Party here. Bipartisan delegations have been going from the United Kingdom. Also, all these human rights organizations, we welcome them and conduct dialogue with them, share the information that they have. In fact, they do not need information from us alone. They have information through Delhi, through the dispatches that are sent by representatives of different governments sitting in Delhi, and also the wire services, Reuters, AP, AFP, or television networks. We used to complain quite a bit until 2 years ago that there wasn't much coverage in Kashmir, but recently the trend has changed, and many leading newspapers and networks are covering this horrendous situation in the Indian occupied Kashmir. We are ready and keen to engage.
I mean,
we would welcome you there.
Mr. President, we have, of course, last but not least, we have Carl Arendal. He's one of the important reporters of the Islam Channel, and he would like to talk to you, and he would like to have a... yeah, please, introduce yourself.
Well, I wasn't expecting to ask a question today, but I'm very much keen to hear your answer to my colleague's question on Imran Khan's new situation in Pakistan and the implications in terms of your expectations and aspirations in Kashmir. But I'd also like to hear a bit more about the role of the British government and where you see that in pursuing the objectives of sovereignty in that region.
Let me be a bit candid about the role of the United Kingdom, and by using the word candid. I'm not forewarning you that I'll be something negative. The United Kingdom, the FCO, whenever they go to the Parliament during a Q&A session or the Prime Minister's question hour, they usually try to artificially balance their relationship with Pakistan and India. And they say that they've been urging India to promote and protect human rights throughout India, including, of course, Jammu and Kashmir. But that doesn't serve our purpose. We think that the FCO and the United Kingdom government should be more forthright. They should side with the victims and not the victimizers. And they should not help India sweep this very, very unusual and this horrendous situation under the carpet. I think that we also appeal to the. We're grateful to the to your Parliament because early last year in 2017, they held a debate in the main chamber of the House of Commons on Kashmir, and some 25 MPs spoke, and only 2 of them registered some sort of dissent and took a pro-India stance. Otherwise, I think that 23 MPs, they spoke for the protection of human rights in the Indian-occupied Kashmir. They spoke for the realization of the right to self-determination of the Kashmiris. They also reminded themselves and their government of the responsibility, the historical responsibility of the United Kingdom to help resolve this issue. I think some of them also alluded to the fact, and I keep repeating this point, that the United Kingdom is not just another member of the United Nations. It is, of course, one of the members of the 193 nations that are represented in the United Nations, but its more important role is in the UN Security Council, where it is a permanent member. And as a permanent, it is the responsibility of the United Kingdom to ensure the maintenance of international peace and security. And let me tell you, we've mostly talked today about the human rights dimension of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. But there is a peace and security dimension as well, a very sinister one, that of course India and Pakistan are nuclear armed. And if the 2 nations ever go to war, that would be on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. It is very vociferous. It triggers strong sentiment on both sides. Therefore, we need to resort to dialogue and diplomacy to diffuse the situation, to de-escalate the situation, and to resolve the issue and find a solution that is just, fair, and lasting, and democratic. So, this is my appeal to the United Kingdom, through you as a matter of fact, put some pressure on the United Kingdom government. For instance, I know that after Brexit, the United Kingdom is a bit vulnerable. The government is a bit vulnerable, and this is not a condescending evaluation. What I'm saying, it's kind of a factual statement from an outsider, and therefore I understand your keenness to enter into trade and economic agreements with India because it's a very big market. But any such a transaction must include a candid discussion on the human rights situation in Jammu and Kashmir. And it should not lead to a situation whereby London is forced to look at the Kashmir dispute through the prism of Delhi, or not to look at Kashmir at all, because this is what would suit India to continue with their repression.
Yes, Mr. President, last, of course, if anybody has any more question, if it's not, I would like to say thank you. May Allah bless you for an excellent informal Q&A, which we done excellent. We know much more, and I would like to say this one from the bottom of the heart. I would like to say within 10 years, if you go right direction, the Jammu Kashmir is going to be free and a big country. I would, but of course, by the grace of Almighty God, the Almighty God is behind us. Is very important, and we can get it, and inshallah we can get it in your time and your presidency. But important thing is we get all together. If there is a proposal, I have the people on the United Nations, executive member of United Nations, especially Jewish people, which is a very friend. But he said, if you got anything, bring it to me and I put it on to make a resolution. And this is the fact. If there is, we can cooperate with each other. There are here from the different denomination, different faith, and there are more which they would like to help. But of course, they have to understand more about it and they go forward. And inshallah, with the grace of Almighty God, we all going forward, and Kashmir will be free. They're called Zindabad Kashmir. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Put your hand together for Mr. President. And we have signing the book as well, and some gift for you, Mr. President.
You can use anything you want. I thought you have your...
That's true, yours, Mr. President. I'll give you a call from the center. We need to get a group photo, everybody's, please. We get the family photo together.
Yeah, we will, but talking.
Yeah.
That's the best treatment. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you very much.
Put your hands together. Mr. President, we need to get a family photo.
Sure. I'm asked first to give this actually some of the publications.
This is a
Some of our work, yes.
This is reading assignment.
And this is for you. You haven't done a sweet.
Okay, we will put this.
You should have a sweet. You know, you are a sweet man. May Allah bless you. May Allah bless you.
Thank you very much.
This is some material on Kashmir.
Oh,
Can come everybody's back down here, which we can get a photograph, please. Photograph. Okay.
Come on, ladies.
Mr. President, lovely, and we will be in touch, and I'm sure by the grace of Allah we can get it forward. Definitely with interfaith. Inshallah. May Allah bless you.
thank you. Such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you. But don't leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I've done lots of work on the forecast periods.
Salam alaikum. Be in touch. Be in touch.